Okay, so to use Lightroom Mobile app to control your camera, first you want to open it up and be in your library, and you'll see in the bottom right-hand corner you have some options in a blue oval. And you want to choose the one that looks like a camera, and that will open up your camera. And so when you first open it up, it'll probably say auto in the bottom left-hand corner. And so what you want to do first is change that to professional. And then that will give you options such as seconds, which is your shutter speed. And you can have it on auto, or you can slide it back and forth to different shutter speeds. So up at the top, it'll show you that's 1/60th of a second, that's 1/15th of a second. And what's nice is it'll actually show you if it's too dark in that location to use that shutter speed, or too bright. Those little lines are showing up in areas that are going to be very blown out white, where you just have no kind of information at all. So for your slow shutter speed image, you need to keep the camera still, and you need to have something moving, which I don't have anything moving in this picture, but you'll need to have something moving. And you will probably use something more like 1/30th of a second, 1/40th of a second, 1/20th of a second, something like that. And for your fast shutter speed, have something really interesting moving, and you'll probably use like 1/50th of a second, 1/200th, 1/250th, 1/500th. It depends on how much light you have. It'll be better if you take these outside and make sure whatever's moving is really, really interesting. You don't want to do a frozen motion of a car going down the street, because it'll just look like a parked car. So pick something really interesting. All right. So that is how you control your shutter. Now, to control your aperture, it's a little bit harder because that's very hard to do on phones. So we can kind of fake it, or we can force it. And so to force it, if you get very close to something, and see how I clicked on something very close, this is almost like using a macro setting, but you can see what's in the background is now out of focus. It's shallow depth of field. So one way is just to get very close to something, and that forces shallow depth of field. Or this little button down here where it says auto with the little brackets and the plus is actually your focus. And you can decide, do I want the background in focus and the bottle out of focus, or vice versa. Those little green things show up to show you like what you're focusing on. So you can either do it that way, or you can just, use your thumb and shoot it in auto and just click on what you want to have in focus, right? That's my focus locked. So that is one way that you can get shallow depth of field. The other way would be using the portrait setting if you have an iPhone, and I believe Androids have something very similar, and that would be in your camera app. So let me go out of this and go into my camera app, and I would choose the portrait setting, right? And it will actually, I can only do it if I'm farther away. So it will tell me, move farther away, move farther away. And you can see here, this is part of the problem with portrait mode, is that it's not a physical thing, it's a software thing. So it doesn't actually know where the edges are. So if I took this picture right now, it gets a little confused like in there, because it doesn't realize that's in the background. So it gets confused where the edges of the bottle are. So just know that if you do use the portrait setting, sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. If you have something that has really strange kind of edges, then it might get confused. If you have any questions, please let me know.